Right, so I wanted to make this video on how to stump the left whenever they bring up diversity and diversity this, diversity that. And I wanted to talk about why the left really doesn't believe in diversity. I know I've made videos talking about this particular study, or I don't know if it's a study or like an internal search or whatever, but um, today I wanted to make it again, like I said, about how to stump the left on diversity whenever they say diversity is so great, diversity this, diversity that. So, in essence, you always hear the left talk about diversity and how great it is, and with immigration and with um, income inequality, all this stuff about how women are underpaid, minorities are underpaid, all this stuff, and all you need to do to bring up how to or to stump them is okay. Well, then you look at somewhere like a college, with all their professors and whatnot, and you find out that 90% of them are on the left, and I think that that's a pretty accurate number. I've seen studies that show that university professors are as likely to be communists as they are conservative. And there's even staggering amounts of colleges that have like literally no college professors that are on the right, or none that are willing to admit it, at least, because obviously they're pretty scared considering all their colleagues are the complete opposite of them. But if you really believed in diversity, then you would just tell them, well, okay, well then why aren't college campuses saying, well, we're overwhelmingly leftists. Why don't we get some conservatives in here? Why don't any job occupations that are overwhelmingly women, why don't they say, yeah, let's get some men in here? But they never do that. Why do they never do that? Because it doesn't benefit them. Uh, the real reason they believe in diversity is because they only believe it in situations where they perceive it to benefit them, and most of the time it really does benefit them. So they're into diversity when it comes to immigration. Why? Because people from the third world, other races and whatnot, vote for the left a lot more often than they vote for the right. So people on the left believe that simply because it'll help them win elections. They believe in the gender pay gap because, well, if you're on the left, you're more likely to be a woman, and not only that, if you're on the right, if you're on the left and you're a guy, you're more likely to be sympathetic to those those kinds of things. For example, the gender pay gap. Yeah, men need to cower to women and make less money, even though I mean everyone that's ever looked into it knows the gender pay gap is just it's just a straight up how much do men earn, how much do women earn. It doesn't take into account occupation, education, any of those kind of things. And when you look into it, you actually find that women with college degrees earn more than men on average. And why is that? Well, it's because there's this diversity hiring situations to where women are more likely to get promoted, women are more likely to get better starting, employment and wage. Therefore, you get this situation to where women earn more. And like I said, if they actually believed in diversity, they would look at that and say, hey, maybe we need to step back a little. It's a little unfair that we're getting all this unfair, promotions and whatnot. But they never do that because it wouldn't benefit them. Um, like I said, I mentioned the immigration, I mentioned the, the gender pay gap and stuff like that. Um, and when they would look at a situation like this, they would step back and be like, hey, maybe we're wrong about this, but they never do that. And that's a mark of people that really shouldn't have any power or say in society, is that if you can't if you made a mistake and you can't turn back and admit it publicly, then you're not a very good person to begin with, and you shouldn't have any power or say in society. And I would point out, imagine if a study, showed the opposite of this, that Google was underpaying women. There would be, government at the highest levels would be getting involved. There would be national outrage, but when it happens to men, it's local news, basically. And that's something that just completely disproves this idea of women being oppressed in society, is that if women were oppressed, then then this would be national news. It would be There would be, highest levels of government would be getting involved, putting in policies to reverse it. But is any of that happening? Well, not at all. So that just completely disproves the idea that women are underprivileged in society in any way, shape, or form, and that men are privileged in society in any way, shape, or form. And back to diversity, like I said, all you got to do is just, the problem is most of the people, when you point out their contradictions, they're going to completely ignore it. They're not going to acknowledge it, and they're just going to double down on their belief systems. But all that shows is that, well, having a conversation with that person is completely pointless, and you're just wasting your time. And not only that, you probably don't really want them in your life, or if they're impossible to completely get rid of, you want to bring down your exposure to them in as much as you possibly can. So that's the easiest way to do it. If they talk about how great diversity is in this way or that way, just point out a way that diversity, or having diversity in a particular area, would go against their worldview or what they perceive to benefit them. And if they acknowledge it and be like, hey, yeah, you're right, I really need to rethink my position, then, well, great, you're having a very productive conversation, and you might be converting someone more towards truth and reality. I would say it's probably 90% chance that doesn't happen, but if, like I said, doesn't happen, all it just shows is that having a conversation with that person's pointless, and you want to avoid them at all costs. So that's about all as far as I had for that video. I just wanted to give people a simple little way that when the left talks about diversity, you can stump them, and if they acknowledge that, then awesome. If not, then just forget about them. They're a lost cause. But if you like the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.